Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012, The Nick Show episode review slash discussion, and this is going to be for 115, episode 15 of season 1, and the episode is called The Alien Agenda. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. I think it was a lot better than the last episode because I think Karai was a lot more interesting in what she brought to the episode, and in terms of how she interacted with the characters and how I suppose Leo reacted to her and stuff like that, as well as some other stuff in the episode as well. It had Krang, it had Foot Clan, it had other stuff in it. So I'll just go through some of my talking points now. I'll start with Karai and the interesting plot, I suppose, of her being interested in the Krang, while the Shredder, who hears about them, is completely unfazed by the fact that there's these alien robots all over the place, and is just obsessed with taking down Splinter. Doesn't even care about this, or why Splinter's disciples are turtles. He doesn't care about that. He just what? Okay. So it makes Karai very interesting in that she, I suppose, is not as into the whole revenge on the turtles idea and Splinter as her father. So that's interesting. Then the whole thing about her, again, she has a few scenes with Leonardo that are pretty interesting, and I suppose it's better here because there's only one of those scenes where they kind of just meet up out of the blue. That happened way too many times last episode. It was just like, hey, Karai this night, hey, Karai this night, and it happened like 4 times in a row. Here, there was just some nice scenes, and what I think really added to the kind of Karai Leo relationship in this episode was the fact that Raph knew about her from the kind of last episode, and so he was trying to get Leo to tell the other turtles about her. So that was pretty cool also. And as we see in this episode, she kind of gets more of Leo's trust when she begins to fight with them against the Krang. But then she basically just, out of to make something interesting happen, creates this giant mutant out of every DNA, and then leaves, leaving the turtles to fight it alone. And this causes Leo to not trust her anymore. So that's interesting going forward, in that it's not just that she's completely evil. She just is, I suppose, she's been with the Shredder too long to kind of change for now. So that's definitely going to be interesting going forward with Karai. The next one I have is about Leonardo, and I like the start of the episode. I was laughing out loud when I first watched this. It was just, as Leo was trying to impress Karai, he just sees her up on the rooftop watching the fight, and it's just like, "I'll save you, Raph," and then does that with all his brothers, and especially Mikey, just like, "Were you trying to impress us? Because it worked." That was really funny, that line. And then he's then trying to basically defend Karai to Raph, so he won't tell everyone else, and then he's kind of proven to be wrong about her when she does leave in the middle of this fight. But while this is happening, Raph is becoming, I suppose, a bit more interested in her also. So that'll be an interesting one. But Raph is the next talking point. I'm on to Leo now. He has some. There's an interesting moment he has with Karai, where basically he realizes that she is evil, and that he's kind of like the only one who can deal with her right now. So he puts his brothers ahead of any sort of relationship with Karai, and he's just like, if you hurt them, then I'll have to hunt you down. And I like that kind of loyalty he was showing to his brothers, and that while he likes her, he's not going to put his brothers at risk because of that. So that was interesting. Another amazingly cringe-worthy line in the middle of a fight: "Let's put old Mother Hubbard back in her cupboard." And I was just like, that was so epically amazing yet facepalmy. It was perfect, and the other turtles' reaction was really good. And then I suppose bringing Justin the Mutant into it near the end, Leo sees that this kind of whole thing is his fault. He's brought them here. Karai is there. She's left, and he just kind of turns his skill on to take on Justin on his own, and ends up beating him in the end. And that was a really good moment to show how good of a fighter he is, and I suppose to show he kind of took out, I suppose, some of his anger about what happened with Karai out on Justin. It was really cool. But I think one of the more interesting aspects of the episode was Raph's interaction with Leonardo and then with Karai, that he just thinks of her as another member of the Foot until he kind of actually meets her in the Krang lab and fights with her and kind of, I suppose, sees a bit of what Leo sees in her, and they kind of set it up that he is kind of almost just as interested in Karai as Leo is, but not quite. So there's definitely that thing going on where there could be this whole thing where Raph and Leo kind of begin to like Karai and trust her a bit more. So that'll be interesting going forward. And that was Raph. A bit of continuity, I suppose. It was nice to see Baxter Stockman coming back into things, trying to make Zever fish face legs, and just the fact that his skill isn't quite working. He can make the legs, he just can't make them kind of work properly for Zever until, like, bringing the Karai aspect of the episode. She goes against Shredder's wishes to brings back a Krang droid for Baxter. He then uses the kind of command module to make Zever legs. So I got a feeling like next episode or the episode after that, we're going to see Zever in action with the legs. That's going to be cool. And a side moment from this was just, I suppose, how similar to Shredder is in nearly every episode he appears in, apart from the episode where he actually fought the turtles in the Gauntlet, I believe. This was, it's kind of becoming a little issue I'm having with the show, in that every time Shredder speaks, it's something like, "Do this for me now, or I will injure you or kill you. Oh wait, I'll give you one more chance." Like, nearly everything he says to them not to do, they disobey him, and he gives them another chance. So he's gonna have to do something at some stage about this, otherwise it's just gonna get like hilariously awkward every time he says something. Because that's like twice Karai has disobeyed him, and like he's just like, "You did well here despite disobeying my orders," and it's kind of the same thing in the previous episode. So that's gonna be interesting. He just like goes up to someone, "I'll kill you," takes out his two giant kind of blades. The next talking point I have is the whole DNA profiling thing with the Krang worldwide genome project as a kind of cover story for this. This brings April into the episode. Then we have this, I suppose, superior Krang droid body with Miss Campbell, I believe is the name they give her. And she has these crazy rocket firing elbows that open up when she went like this. And it really reminded me of the big guy from The Big Guy and Rusty, that show. So that was interesting. She was pretty crazy. Just the movement of her was really cool as well. Though I'm slightly worried about, I suppose, April's development as a kunoichi, in that that's all she seems to have learned so far, is how to do those crazy combat roll things in the middle of a fight. I kind of would have liked to see her, I suppose, do a little bit of hand-to-hand combat maybe with Miss Campbell before running away or something like that, just to show that she's is developing a bit as a kunoichi. But yeah, because I get the feeling that at some stage we're maybe going to see April fight Karai, because they look to be around the same age, and that kind of seems like a fitting fight. The next part of the episode I want to talk about is Justin the Mutant, and the hilarious name that Michelangelo comes up for him, and then the fact that he's made from all of the DNA that the Krang have basically taken, and so he has like aspects of all different sorts of animals and stuff like that, and it was just a very interesting design, I suppose, and you kind of get the sense like, well, was he actually killed or not? Probably he'll come back at some stage, because they don't really seem to kill any characters yet. His defeat at Leo was really cool, that fight. But I suppose it brings up the point. The whole plot of this episode was about the Krang and the whole DNA thing. Yet there really was no plot, because they never explained really why the Krang are taking everyone's DNA as such. So with the crime plot throughout the whole series, they haven't really been giving us enough information, and we're on episode 15 now. I think at this stage they need to really kind of tell us about the crime plan pretty soon, or really advance the main story of the show quickly, or else it's just gotta make the show even more episodic as opposed to a bit more serialized. But anyway, final point is just two screenshots I want to show you guys. I really love these two faces from Mikey. The one where he enters the school for the first time and his eyes are just complete awe. That was crazy hilarious. And then where he just puts the robot face of Miss Campbell up over himself and then scares Raph. That was brilliant. I love those two faces. So you'll see those two screenshots now. But that has been my episode review for the Alien Agenda episode 15. Thank you for watching this video, and bye.